Introducing Brian Blogs audio articles, now available only at Brian Blogs Corner Club at www.patreon.com/Brian Too Bad TV Solange, my newest upgrade for valued patron members. For older blogs, you can now click on the audio file attachment below the written article. Download it on your Android, iPhone, laptop, or desktop. For newer blogs, simply click on the audio strip as seen in this illustration, and then listen along as you read it, or just choose to listen as I personally narrate yet another one of my classical masterpieces. It will be just like listening to my public videos on YouTube, BitChute, and Black Avenger TV, only you will have exclusive access to audible and written material available only to paying patron members. For as little as $7 a month, you can become a member of this important club of like-minded thinking individuals. Get the latest updates on news, stories trending on social media, and cold case files, as well as new revelations on historical events and political issues. With Brian's blog audio articles, you now get twice the content for the same price. Again, if you want to enjoy a members-only club where you get to choose whether you want to read or listen to my awesome content, sign up for as little as $7 a month. That's less than a standard fast food combo meal these days. Become a member of Brian Blogs Corner Club at www.patreon.com/Brian Too Bad TV Solange and enjoy exclusive access to audio article blog library only available at the Brian Blogs Corner Club today. What's going on, guys? I had hoped that by now, considering everything that we've discussed, everything that I've announced, and everything that we have seen unfold here on ScrewTube over the course of the last few months, and really over the last few years, that I would not still be in a position where I have to use this platform as a promotional platform to get a lot of traffic over on my videos on Black Avenger TV and BitChute. Now, granted, BitChute is doing a little bit better in traffic than Black Avenger TV, but that shouldn't be either, because Black Avenger TV is Black owned and controlled. But I see that that is not the case. There are those of you diehards that have been with me for a long time. You donate to my PayPal, you donate to Black Avenger, you donate to other black male content creators. Some of you are my special patron members over on patreon.com. And for the few of you who are truly loyal to black male free media and freedom of speech and expression, I greatly commend and appreciate you. Thank you. But for the rest of you hard-headed Negroes, I guess this is why they say that the white man's ice is always colder. Which is kind of ironic, considering the topic that I am ironically promoting here. Would be nice if y'all would just go there by yourself, but I've noticed that the YouTube purge, unless something drastically has changed since I made this video, has not really struck down as many black content creators as I thought it would. And it looks like what happened to Obsidian's channel was more deliberate and more targeted than it was a broad sweeping operation by ScrewTube, which undoubtedly will come. But unfortunately, because of the lack of support that I'm getting, or Black Avenger TV is getting, I have little choice but to continue to utilize what I have built on this bullshit ass platform to get more traffic over there, because of course the ultimate goal is to become completely independent of YouTube. And the only way to do that, unless you're going to be making videos to yourself, is to get as much traffic, as much donor support, as much popularity as possible over there. In the meantime, I don't know, man. Do any of y'all know anybody that works in CBS? Because, don't get me wrong. As a social commentator, I am happy. I'm glad that they're doing this. But as a man who has learned to give everything and everyone in life a side eye, because you don't really know what they're up to, I have to wonder what CBS's real agenda is behind all of this posting up of old cold cases of interracial murders. They have some type of agenda. I don't know what it is. And maybe it's just, the director of one of their departments, because CBS doesn't strike me as anti-diversity. But while they're not as liberal as a CNN or MSNBC, it seems like the last thing on earth that any of these mostly liberally funded and led networks would want would be to awaken black women from their delusional slumber and running to the white man's open loving arms could end in a very negative manner. Seems like that would be the last thing that they would want to do is snap these bimbos out of it. But this makes the second time in less than a month that CBS has dug all the way into the past and brought some shit up from like a decade ago involving, swirling gone wrong. Only this one is a bit more of a twist, because unlike I believe that was the September 2009 murder of Jacqueline Villa Gomez that you guys know I did a 2-part video series on, and I gave y'all the link to the 48 Hours documentary that CBS did on it about a month ago. The October 15th, 2008 murders of Quiana Jenkins and her Marine Sergeant husband, Jan Pietzrak, who was Polish American, were done not in the form of a murder-suicide, form of a double murder by some of his subordinates, meaning fellow Marines that were under his command. And as you see in the collage, these were all black Marines. And Jan Pietzrak was, by profession, he was a helicopter mechanic in the Marines. But he moved through the ranks very fast. And as is typical in Southern California, he married this relatively attractive-looking black female that she was going to college to become a doctor. Her name was Quiana Jenkins. When she married him, her name became Quiana Jenkins Pietzrak. And, you know, they seemed like your typical Southern California, happy interracial married couple. As you know, it's very rare for black women to get married to white men anyway. But, you know, according to black women, when they get married, they stay together. Of course, I and certain other people tend to think that's because black women are more submissive to white men than they are to black men. But anyway, that's not the... We'll touch on all that later. So, essentially what happened was, from what I can take, because I recall in 2012 or 2013, but I believe it was 2012, Tommy Sotomayor, he did a video on these double murders, which had happened 4 years earlier, because at the time, the trial for the killers, these 4 Marines, were taking place. And 3 of them wound up eventually getting the death penalty. The other one got life in prison. Ironically, they sentenced the 2 dark-skinned Negroes to the death penalty, even though one of them pulled the trigger. But we're going to get to that in a video that's in the link in the description box. But just bear with me here. So he was saying that, no one deserves to be murdered, and, these guys deserve the death penalty. And a part of me wants to agree with him. There's another part of me that wants to disagree with him. Okay? I'm going to touch on that more in the link in the description box, which is to the video right now that is available elsewhere, where I go in further detail about this and my real feelings about it. Also in the link in the description box, there is, and all of this is going to be listed by definition, so, there's no confusion. There's a link to a poll for those of you who are signed up on blackavengertv.forummotion.com. I put a poll that I want those like-minded brothers who have seen the rise and fall of Swirl Nation, and, the shit that we've seen these females partake in online and off. I have a poll thread where I want you guys to vote on a specific question regarding this specific case. I'm not going to share it here, but if you want to see the poll, you want to be a part of that poll, sign up and go over there and vote. The link to that specific thread with that specific poll is in the description box, along with the link to the main course video regarding this subject. Now, also in the link in the description box is to the second CBS TV documentary episode where they've either, relaunched, or they produced a documentary about some swirler get murked in the last month. Now, knowing how these networks are, it's kind of like when #MeToo came out and, them talking about, are we going to war with Iran? And then a month later, a mine explodes on a oil tanker. And now all of a sudden, we're going to war with Iran. I know that things don't just happen by chance. Okay. They're putting all of this shit out because they have some type of agenda. Somehow I sense that agenda is not to favor black men. Perhaps it's to garner sympathy. And again, another thing I know is that black men, a lot of them are waking up. And that's one of the reasons, not the only reason or even the main reason, but it's one of the reasons why Congress is calling, people like Mark Zuckerberg, before, the Senate committees, and YouTube is purging and clamping down on, politically incorrect free speech. Because, and I've said this to you brothers before, communication and information is power. Okay? When you have the ability to communicate information to a vast majority of people, you become powerful, especially if those people accept what you're feeding them. Okay? And essentially what you do over time is you have the ability to raise a mob, you have the ability to raise an organization, you have the ability to raise an army. Okay? And the people in power, including those who control these social media and, news and cable media networks, they're as scared of this as the government is, because they're human. Every human wants to be on top. And anytime they see a threat to their reign, they're going to try and stop it. So, a part of me is wondering if they're releasing these old, murder cases of black women that have been, done in, that were swirlers, because they're somehow trying to manipulate and already, they see the chaos that's going on in Black America, especially online, and somehow they're trying to sow more confusion, more conflict, more distrust between us, as if we need any more of that. I don't know. I don't know. But I just find it highly strange that CBS would go into the past and reach for the last reach into the past and get the two biggest cases of interracially related murder that has occurred in the last decade and put it on display for the world to see 10 and 11 years after this shit happened. I find that highly strange. And again, I highly doubt they're trying to do black men or black women any favors. They have an agenda. The only question is, what is the agenda? Because usually, what do these news networks talk about? They talk about current stuff that's happening in recent headlines. Not shit that happened 10 years ago, unless it's like an anniversary or something that occurred in recent times is related to something that happened in the past, because they're always looking for a scoop. They're always looking to boost their ratings. Most people are short-sighted. And aside from those of us who are intellectuals, most people are not interested in history unless it's something big like World War II or something. Most people are not interested in what happened 10 years ago. So they're not going to have any boosted ratings. And people definitely don't want to hear about race mixers getting smutted out. They don't want to hear about that, because we're supposed to be about diversity and, rainbow colors and, accepting of everything and everybody, including space aliens that beam down from Mars, even if they want to bite your head off and eat you for breakfast. Oh, yeah. Hold hands and sing Kumbaya. So I don't know what CBS's agenda is, but I got a feeling it's sinister. Anyway, nonetheless, since we're going to view this in the way that we want to view it, not in the way that they want us to view it. So in addition to the link to the thread poll and the link to my main course commentary on this issue that happened October 15th, 2008, you're also going to see the CBS NCIS. It wasn't 48 Hours. They used their other documentary series, television series called NCIS, which basically follows real crime scene investigators. They had that stupid ass fictional show. I think it's called NCIS. Yeah. And, they decided to make like a reality TV version of that where they follow real NCIS cases. And from what I understand, NCIS are that investigate crimes related to the U.S. military, primarily the Navy and the Marines. So when Jan and what's her name, Quiana Pietzrak, were murdered in their own home just 67 days after being married, NCIS they requested to join the investigation from. They put in a request to the Riverside Police Department, Riverside, California, because the murder occurred, I guess, in their jurisdiction. And they started looking at several things, and they noticed a lot of things in, crime scene photos and facts about the case that they knew so far that led them to believe that whoever was responsible was probably a fellow Marine of the one that got murdered at Camp Pendleton. For one thing, Quiana Jenkins, her ATM card was used at a bank a few hours after the murder, just like less than a few blocks away from one of the entryways into Camp Pendleton. Another thing was, even though their house was ransacked after they were tortured and murdered and she was raped, they took a lot of valuable belongings, but they didn't take, there was the things that they didn't take that, led them to believe that this was likely a soldier that, had that exact same replica of, it's like a army bag that they give them. And they didn't even think to look inside of that army bag when they were ransacking the house after killing this couple. And so the investigators assumed that that was probably because whoever killed them knew what was in that bag, which was nothing more than, belongings and rations that, soldiers are trained to put in the bags, for their supplies when they're out on missions. So eventually they caught these dumb niggas, and they was some dumb niggas. When y'all see the CBS documentary on this shit, you realize I have never, let me tell y'all something, even in gang violence, I have never seen somebody so goddamn stupid after committing such a horrendous crime. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna give it away. Y'all gonna have to go see it for yourself. Okay. And in addition to the evidence they found, they got one of these Negroes to confess. And another thing, y'all, for those of you who are criminal minded out there, because I know I got a few of y'all who listen to me, just a bit of advice. When you go to do some stupid shit, do it by yourself. Stupid shit with somebody else. Because when they catch that person and they start putting pressure on them, life in prison, death penalty, decades in jail, they're going to roll over on you. Just like the Italian mafia rolled over on itself and got John Gotti put away. Okay. Nobody is going to do, it's not like in the movies. Nobody is going to do a stretch, as they call it, for your dumb ass. Okay. Even if they were the main perpetrator and you was the getaway driver, guess what? They're going to try to pin it on you to save their own ass. Okay. And so essentially that's how they wound up catching all four of these fucking fools. They caught the first one relatively easy because he was dumb. He was just dumb as a dingbat. And then he gave up his friends. Okay. All of them were Marines under the command of this Marine Sergeant, Jan Pietzrak, who was their superior officer. Okay. And Jan Pietzrak, from what I understand, he was a very strict sergeant. He was a very strict officer. He was a very good Marine. He did his job, and he expected other Marines to do their job, with complete detail. Like he was a by the book type of Marine, and he expected other Marines to be a by the book Marine. So these particular four Marines, they had a problem with authority. They had a problem with efficiency. And so he was always on their case, particularly the one that they caught first. He was always on their case. And they knew, in addition to the fact that they didn't like him, as their superior officer, they also knew, because, word had got around base, it's common, in the military, weddings in the military and interracial weddings in the military is common. They also knew that he had just married a pretty black wife. Also, these four Marines were involved in 4 other burglaries prior to this murder. So they were already like a little small criminal enterprise. So what it appeared to the NCIS investigators is that you had a small criminal ring of burglars, okay, that, they were Marines by day, criminals by night. They didn't like their superior officer. They knew that he had, a black wife. And even when they were involved in the crime, they tried to make it look like white racists did it because they sprayed N-word lover on the bathroom mirror inside the house that they ransacked and killed a couple in. And, when you combine all of that together, what you have basically is a motive for what they did and a recipe for disaster. They're already breaking and entering in other people's houses. They didn't like this dude. They knew he had a black wife. And also, he had been bragging about getting a re-enlistment bonus of $30,000. Jan Pietzrak was one of those guys. He used to like to brag about, his salary, his money, he talked a lot. He ran his mouth a lot, and to hood, that's not a good idea. I'm not saying all these dudes was hood, came from the hood, but the ringleader certainly did. Okay. And so, you telling people you got $30,000 re-enlistment bonus in cash in your house, or you cashed out and you got some of that money in the house, you with a pretty black chick, that may not even have nothing to do with it. Because these Pookie and Ray Ray type niggas, they get black coochie anytime they want. So I take that back. Him being with a black girl may not even had nothing to do with it. But they didn't like him. They knew he had money, and they was already breaking into people's shit anyway. So they devised a plan that they was going to teach him a lesson and break in his shit, whoop his ass. And this is what the dude actually admitted in the interrogation when they caught his ass. And he was rolling over on his friends. He said, I didn't pull the trigger, but the idea was we break in, whoop his ass, take all his valuables, take his money. We had masks on, so we couldn't be identified, and then leave. But then things got out of hand, and, the other guy that I was with decided to kill him. And I didn't have nothing to do with it. Turns out later, he didn't pull the trigger, but he did order one of the other guys to execute both Quiana and Jan. Okay, so essentially that's what you have in this case. Nobody ever mentioned it being racially motivated, but now thinking about it,
looking at these dudes and considering what they did, they're the quintessential Pookie and Ray Ray type dudes, whether they was in the Marines or not. I really don't think her being in the picture had anything to do with it. I think she was just unlucky to be in that type of situation where she got caught up in all of that. I think it was personal between the mastermind of the crime and his superior officer, Jan Pietzrak, and he wanted revenge on the dude and he wanted to rob him. So, one thing led to another. So anyway, like I said, after CBS resurfaced, after this resurfaced on CBS, because again, this happened 11 years ago. Even it's so old, it happened a month before, about 3 weeks before Obama was elected president. Remember, that was November 2008. Since it resurfaced, not only did I want to talk about it, I want to pose an important question to you black men about this. Those of you who've gone through that rabbit hole like me. And there's no doubt that this was a brutal crime of two seemingly innocent people. But there's some other things that, considering everything that we know about black women, white men, there's some other things, there's some other components to this that obviously I'm not going to discuss here on ScrewTube. But I did, based on that, I wanted to ask y'all a specific question. And that question is going to be in the thread poll, which is in the link in the description box, along with the link to the NCIS documentary episode on this terrible crime, and the link to my main course where I answer the same question that I asked y'all over on blackavengertv.forummotion.com. So again, guys, go over there now and answer the question, watch the documentary, and when you're done with all of that, watch my main course video on this issue, and we'll go from there. I mean, there's really nothing else to be said. Talk to you later, guys.